adductor hovers. So we're using a yoga block here as a way to train our adductors, and the hover portion is just allowing us to move into flexion and extension because the adductor muscles will do adduction motion, obviously, hence the name, but they're also active in flexion and extension depending on where the limb or the lower leg is relative to the hip. So the yoga block is great. There's all these different angles that you can set it up on. So we can have it really wide and somewhat short, wide and a little bit taller, and then we can have it kind of narrow and really tall. There's all these in-between positions that you can play with as a way to kind of allow you to scale the hover setup. So the easiest way to start is going to be the shortest length and the lowest height, obviously. And then when I get set up, I want to put my heel when I'm in a neutral position on that so that I know I'm trying to equally train flexion and extension. Now in this position, you're obviously going to get way more hip flexion, so it's going to be easier going this way than it is going to extension, especially if I really lock up my pelvis by bringing my right foot over and up toward my shoulders. So if I start in this side lying position, I drive that top leg over into the ground. If I pull that up, that's going to help lock up my pelvis, but it's also going to help give me a leverage point to push my foot into the ground to be able to get some tension to drive the adduction motion in my right hip. So if I come up, now I'm off the yoga block and I can go into extension, come back over the top, going into flexion, coming back to the ground. And then I can simply progress that without even changing the height of the yoga block by coming up to my elbow. So if I'm in this position and now I go to lift off, I'm now the muscles are in a shortened position and it becomes much harder for them to be active, especially if I keep my hips rolled forward. So I'm training my adductors and not my hip flexors. So that's really important that your hips stay stacked and that you're trying to maintain a straight line orientation so we're not going into a hip flexion motion so we can really train those inner thigh muscles. And then my progressions can be pretty simple. I could start with the easiest one and I could go from on my side to my elbow, and I could go back to my side and I could progress it a little bit and then come back up to my elbow with the same setup, go back to my side, and I could get it a little bit higher from my side. Once I master that, go to my elbow. You can kind of see it's up to your imagination on how you're going to progress through these things, but we want to start with something that's pretty simple. We want to master that, be able to create tension in the right tissues and actually feel it, and then progress that over a period of time to increase the difficulty.